And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
This is your RBLR-Rays podcast. I am your host, Zach Dobb, along with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, good to see you, buddy. It's been a little while.
I was just about to say that. It's been a good minute since we've last podcasted together. It's really good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. I think I didn't even ask. I just assumed you're doing well.
You assumed correctly. I am doing well. Yes, I live up in the South Carolina area. We did get smacked a little bit by Helene. Doing better now, though. I was without power/internet for a little while, which is why I unfortunately was not able to kind of do our first show after the season ended. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, all that good stuff. But just glad to be back here talking Rays.
Yeah, it's so good to have you back. We've missed you. The RBLR community have missed you. It's good to see you back. And I think we'll talk about this as well. It's been a really rough time for everyone around the state of Florida, particularly the Tampa area. And it's just been horrible. And I will never complain about the Manchester drizzle ever again.
Yep, and we want to definitely take a moment just to say stay safe out there if you're in the Tampa area. I've seen the images of everything going on down there. Please stay safe. Please, make sure check on your people around you. We're glad that if you're watching us, we're glad you're safe. We're glad you're able to watch. And we hope that everything is, going as well as it can for you down there. And we know that Tampa is a resilient town and all those surrounding areas are a resilient group of people, and you'll get through it. And we're just excited to be able to kind of be here to talk some ball with y'all, get through kind of maybe a difficult time, but talk about a season that was one of the seasons of Rays baseball that has ever been played. And I think that is an apt summation, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't worry, we're not going to necessarily talk about how aggressively mid the 2024 Rays were this season. We're going to kind of take a bit more of a celebration. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to be congratulating. In case you couldn't see on the YouTube, you should watch on YouTube, by the way, if you get the chance, because you get this incredible visual aid. I'm wearing a bow tie today because it is the RBLR-ys. Work in progress title, but it's the RBLR-ys. It's the 2024 awards show for the Tampa Bay Rays.
We have 10 awards to give out to 10 very deserving recipients of various awards that we have concocted for them. We're very excited to present them. We're also excited to just have you guys here. We are going to do, before we get into the RBLR-ys, we are going to quickly kind of talk a little bit about some business that we need to discuss with where the Rays are going to play baseball in 2025, because that is very much up in the air. We have no breaking news for you. If you've been following it, I'm sure you've seen the images of the Trop absolutely shredded. And we won't revisit that too much because we all know the state of it, but it is not going to be where the Rays, at least to begin 2025, play baseball. So right now, there's been a couple of things floated out there. Topper had some excellent bait this morning talking about Montreal not being an option. There's been a lot thrown out there. Pat, do you have any thoughts on where you think the Rays should play, or any thoughts in general about the situation?
Yeah, so first of all, it's truly awful what's happened everywhere and what's happened to the Trop. It felt like it was the one baseball stadium that was maybe built to survive a storm of that magnitude. But alas, the hurricane wreaked havoc on everything around it. And it was really sad seeing those images of the Trop. And then in terms of where they play, I'm not local to Florida, as you can tell by my accent, but there's a few possibilities that could be floated around. It's unlikely that the Yankees would do us a favor, but Steinbrenner Field is in Tampa and is a stadium that could be used. They usually have their single A team play there, and they use it for spring training sometimes as well. That seems like an option. It's in Tampa proper. There's also a baseball stadium in Disney World if they want to go to Orlando, be the Orlando Rays for a little bit. And then, of course, there's the Rays spring training stadium and for single A as well, the Charlotte Sports Park, which is about 80 miles away from the Trop. Those seem like the most likely options if you want to stay local. I don't know even why Mark Topkin brought up Montreal as an option. I don't think it was ever really on anyone's mind, and I thought we were done talking about Montreal for a damn minute. And I thought we were done talking about stadium talk, but turns out stadium talk's back on the agenda because we don't know where we're going to start playing in 2025. I'm pretty confident there's enough options that something will be sorted that will be like okay and good enough. The Blue Jays made the playoffs in 2020, albeit an expanded playoffs while playing all of their home games in Dunedin. So it's a shame, and it might mean that we might get some more rainouts to begin 2025 than we're kind of used to as Rays fans. But I don't think there's reason to panic in terms of finding a home. I think there's enough options in the area. Florida has a lot of baseball parks in it. They'll need to be renovated a little bit to host major league games, but I think we'll be fine for the start of 2025. I guess the big question is, beyond that, do you think, because the Rays haven't made a statement on this, do you think the Rays are even going to try to earnestly repair Tropicana Field and instead try and kind of accelerate the building of the new stadium, maybe bring it forward by a little bit? I know 2028 was the target. Maybe they try and bring it forward by a year and go, hey, for 2 years, you just kind of thug it out in Charlotte or in Orlando or wherever it ends up being, to kind of not spend however much it's going to spend to fix the roof, instead invest all that money to make the stadium faster. But I don't know if that's even a possibility.
Yeah, I think it's something that if just my guess, I imagine throughout the offseason they will do the work at least to get an idea of what a realistic estimate would look like from a cost and timeline standpoint to replace the roof. And then once you have that information, in my opinion, I think what's going to happen is they may sit on that for the beginning of the season once they find a place to play, because they will find a place to play baseball somewhere. My money's on the Orlando Sports Complex at the moment because I don't think any of the other parks that are currently have teams playing in them are going to end up working out. Just my opinion. We'll see. I really don't want to be in the Yankees' back pocket either. Just don't have any desire for that. What in my opinion is going to happen is whenever they find a place to play, they're going to take the temperature maybe halfway through the season and see, hey, is this something we could do for the next couple of years? Because I guarantee you Stu Sternberg does not want to pay to replace the roof right before we move into a new stadium. And, I don't know what the, if there's any opportunity for, them to try to see if the government will pay for it a little bit or the local taxpayers will pay for it. To put the roof back on. Because I think what kind of makes this difficult is, if you think about it from just logistical standpoints, the Rays are going to eventually move to the new stadium. The Trop will still exist after they move to the new stadium. It's not going to just disappear. So the question really is going to be, what will they do with the Trop if they don't fix the roof? Because if you don't fix the roof, the building can't be used, and it's probably unsafe to leave it without a roof because there is not proper drainage in the building long term. It's probably not something they should do. So there's a lot of layers to it, I think, that will be interesting to see what they end up doing. Do they try to put some sort of temporary roof on it in order just to get it to where it's not being flooded constantly every time it rains and it's mildewing in there or whatever because the drainage isn't set up properly for that? I don't know what the solution is going to be, but something has to happen because you can't just let it sit there with nothing over it in perpetuity. I'm imagining there'll be some sort of temporary fix, but it won't be ready to play baseball anytime soon. And if they get this feeling that they can get away with playing not in the Trop until the new stadium is ready, I think they will probably try to do that. It's just a question of what will the fan response be? What will the player response be? What will the Players Association in particular, what will their response be to that? Because, if you're a Rowdies fan, which you should be if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan as well, that they're undergoing some of the same questions right now with, trying to make things work. And to do that for an entire season for the Rays and maybe 2 and 3 seasons, it's just not something the PA is going to go for unless they have a really structured plan in place. So it's going to be a long process. We probably won't get any answers, at least for the next couple of months, until they get an idea of what the cost to replace it could be. The PA will get involved, I'm sure, once we start talking about plans for the next season. I don't know. I think we'll talk about it more during the offseason, but I think this could have longer reaching effects than we may think, because our free agent's going to want to come and play in whatever situation that the Rays are going to be in. If it's going to be that way for like 2 years, it's one thing if it's one season. It's just it's just is what it is. But if we're talking about 2-3 seasons in this situation before the new stadium's ready to go, is anybody, especially short-term free agents, are they going to want to come and deal with that? I don't know. So there's a lot to discuss, and we want no reason to get too deep into it until we know more specifics. But it's going to be a multi-layered problem that we're probably not going to get much resolution for until we get some idea of what the cost would be and if there's any interest from Stu Sternberg in financing the fix there.
Yeah, and I think finance is going to be a big thing long term if they're not playing in the Trop as well, because the Trop can hold usually a maximum of around 27,000 people, I think.
Yeah.
But they or thereabouts, depending on which sections they have open and closed. But like any of the other options that we listed in spring training complexes and Disney, they have a fraction of the capacity in that respect. So like while the Rays attendance is very rarely at capacity, you'd usually see more than what the Disney complex could hold on a given weekend game. So if that's less revenue from ticket sales, and then also you're going to have to pay to hire out the stadium as well. So maybe they get a cut of the ticket sales, of less ticket sales. So that could mean a significant drop in payroll as well for the team as well. And maybe that could also lead to staff redundancies if the stadium staff are never going to get brought back, or and Disney use their own, or the Charlotte complex uses their own. So there's just, if you don't use the Trop, there are so many other negative knock-on effects that makes it feel like you really want the Trop to not be done. Because this affects real people, and it also affects the baseball side of it more than just the kind of aesthetics of where it's going to be. People's jobs are at stake. People's salaries are at stakes, both on and off the field. So I really urge Stu Sternberg to make the effort to try and continue to put a major league team in a major league stadium. I think the cost will be worth it from a people's perspective, but that's my view on it. But whether he'll do that, he'll do what's best for business at the end of the day, and what affects the bottom line of the team, both in the short and long term. So we've just got to see what they come up with, I suppose. But it's just a horrible situation. Yep,
images were sad to see. I see some people collecting pieces of the roof and selling them on eBay. It's not something I ever thought I would see. But I know that the community there is strong. The team will figure it out. You've got a great organization that is there as far as the people that are running the team outside. I mean, Stu is whatever, but the team itself is run very well. They'll figure it out. It's a resilient community. And one of the things, before we get into the RBLR-ys, one of the things that we wanted to talk about before we get there is, if you see what's going on down there right now in Tampa, and you feel you have the ability and you feel inclined to do something to help, please do us a huge favor. It'd be a favor to all of us here at RBLR. Donate to Red Cross Hurricane Relief, redcross.org. They are doing amazing things down there, helping people, trying to get people back on their feet, providing generators, doing all kinds of stuff, medical support. Please, if you ever thought about, maybe I'll buy a shirt, maybe I'll buy something, if you want to really help us and do us a huge favor, donate to Red Cross Hurricane Relief, redcross.org. You're doing us a huge favor, and we would really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we all love this team, the reason we love this area, is because of the people in it, and right now they're going through a tough time. So if we could do what we can to help those people by a small donation, I know times are hard, but if you are able to donate, it would mean the world to some people to help get that relief.
Yep, absolutely, and we would greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Now that we've gotten the unfortunate, sad discussion about the Trop out of the way, we can move on to the main event of this show, the RBLR-ys, our award show, 10 awards to give out for 10 very deserving players for various reasons we will discuss. Pat, would you like to get us started and deliver the first award?
Yes. Okay. I'll start with who will I start with today? Okay, I will start with the maybe what kind of summarizes the start of the season, I suppose, and how the start of the 2024 season went. And I'm going to go with the "How bad can your middle infield get" award, which is a bit of a negative award, but the Rays got off to a woeful start, and that was partly because their middle infield was a shambles, and that's why I'm going to give the "How bad can your middle infield get" award to perhaps a forgotten 2024 Ray, Nico Goodrum. Nico Goodrum was on this team. He played
He sure was.
Major League games for the Tampa Bay Rays in 2024. He played 9, in fact, and he hit to a 188 batting average, 188 slugging, 235 on base percentage for a 26 WRC plus, and in just 9 games, he accumulated 0.3 Fangraphs. Sorry, negative 0.3 Fangraphs WAR. It was not a good showing from Nico Goodrum, who was signed to a minor league deal in the offseason. And he was part of the team because obviously our original starting shortstop was very mixed up in some legal issues. And then also Taylor Walls was injured. Otherwise engaged, yeah. And then the backup for that, Taylor Walls, was injured to start the season. He was going to be out. And then also Yu Chang, who was part of his competition in spring training, was also injured. And Jose Caballero was the only kind of person that could play shortstop, so you needed someone else that could do that. I think Brandon Lau was a bit nicked up to start the season as well. I might be misremembering that, but he definitely was hurt near the start of the season. And so Nico Goodrum, like number 7 on the shortstop depth chart, got a bit of a run, and he was really bad offensively in particularly. And yeah, that was the state of the middle infield that we were wishing we had Yu Chang back.
Yeah.
That's where we were at in April. We were like, damn, I wish we had Yu Chang healthy.
Yeah, and you are right, by the way, about Brandon Lau. He went out with an oblique injury in early April. So, yeah, it was not good to start the season. And when as we look back and tell the story of this season, you got to give some credit to the Rays for putting together teams that could field, competitively, at least semi-competitively, play baseball out there, because it was not the plan was so far off the rails before the season even began. There was so much that happened. Both Low and Lau were out. Wall's gone. The fact that you're even thinking about Yu Chang is a huge issue. Like it was just not good to start the year. And the middle infield was definitely probably the most affected, at least early on, by that.
Yeah, I mean, they did have depth in that position. It's just it wasn't quality depth. Like there was no one that you could go, well, they could just take over the starting job and it'll be fine. Apart from Caballero, and with positions like shortstop, they're physically demanding, so you can't have people playing there every single day anymore, reliably. So yeah, I mean, you can't plan for what happened with Wander Franco. You can't plan for that to happen and to have a contingency in place, because out of the 2,000 MLB players, it only happens to a very, 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 very select few. So you don't plan for your players to be horrible criminals. So it's a shame, but yeah, it's where the Rays were at, and I think that is partial, like a mix of injuries and bad luck, and the Wander Franco thing led to a kind of black hole in the infield, because Yandy Diaz was also on the worst skid of his career, and Isaac Paredes was pretty much all we had on the infield to start the year.
That is correct.
And so it was a mess. So when we look back and go, oh man, we missed the playoffs by 6 games, and yet we lost 4 to the White Sox. You realize when we played the White Sox, it was when Nico Goodrum was on the team. So, and those kind of vibes were going on. So, yeah, I think that's a good award that indicates how the Rays season started. Zach, I might hand it over to you for our next award.
And I'm glad that you went that way, because I've got another award that kind of gives you an idea of how the season started and maybe is a good emblematic of the way the season went in general. And that is the "Look at Me, I'm the catcher now" award. And that award goes to Ben Rortvedt, who apparently started the most games at catcher for the Rays in 2024, a sentence I never thought I would utter in my wildest dreams or nightmares. And not only did he start the most games at catcher for the Rays this year, he was number 6 in WAR on the team at the end of the season, which isn't saying that much because the WAR leader is no longer on the team, with Isaac Paredes at 3. A future award recipient is number 2, and then you have Ben Rortvedt down there at 6 with 1.4 F WAR, hitting to a respectable for a catcher 87 WRC plus. And I guess that's just the way that it went. We do not know exactly how, we don't know if they were looking at Ben Rortvedt for a long time and then they just kind of pulled the trigger on him at the beginning of the season, or what sort of led to him getting signed. But they signed him right before the season started, brought him on because they felt like they needed him to go at the beginning of the season with Rene Pinto, for those two to kind of be your catcher platoon. Ben Rortvedt, 328 plate appearances, 112 games played for the Rays this season. He was the starting catcher to begin and end the season. I have no idea what we're going to see next year. I really have that. That's one of the positions I have the least feel for going into next year. But they're going to have somebody out there.
Catcher was a little bit of a mess, and my next award is gonna address that further. But in terms of Ben Rortvedt, unfortunately, he started the season really well. Let's not forget that, like, in the early part of the season, Ben Rortvedt was like one of the positives that we were talking about on this podcast quite a lot. I was pushing he's got more WAR at catcher than Adley Rutschman bit for quite a long time, because it was true till about the All-Star break. And then Rortvedt got less and less playing time. He started ceding more to Alex Jackson, and eventually Logan Driscoll as well. And he did go on a big skid because while he was like a 300 average, no power, slap single type hitter, but then he stopped making as much contact and he ended up skidding to an 86 WRC plus. But he still did a job. And it was an important job because catching's a really important position. And I'm going to segue this into my next award, because the plan for catcher, we can maybe finally have a discussion about what the heck was going on at the catcher position this year. Yeah. The next award I'm going to give is directly related to this. It is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Award for being sent to the Shadow Realm. This guy got dusted for completely out of nowhere, didn't seem to do anything wrong in terms of performance, and was in direct contradiction to what the front office was telling us all off season. Rene Pinto, congratulations. He can't accept his award today because he's still there. He's still in the Shadow Realm and we don't know what's going on with him. But like, after how many games did he end up playing? 19 games he ended up playing. He was demoted to AAA to work on his swing decisions and was never seen again. But in the offseason, they said, hey, we don't need a backup catcher. We don't need a second catcher. We don't need a third catcher because Rene Pinto is going to catch 100 games for us this year. And he's so good that we don't mind not having a backup because we'll just throw some guy out there because he'll only be there when Rene Pinto's too tired. It's the Rene Pinto show. He's the best. And after 19 games, he got sent to AAA to work on swing decisions and was never seen again. Can we discuss this?
I mean, I think we have to. It was probably the most unexplained thing. Like, as we've been following the team for a couple of years now, I'm not going to say that we know everything that they do and we completely understand everything, but we have a pretty good sense of the way the organization runs. And we know when they say certain things, we know, okay, they don't just say this about anything or about anyone. The way they were speaking about Rene Pinto, it was like, okay, this is the guy. They're very clear. There is no, there's nothing being left up to the imagination here. So to see the guy just completely disappear 3 weeks into the year, and we were like, oh, this is weird. Maybe he'll be back up in a week or two. We thought maybe he was hurt. We didn't know what was going on. And we kind of just were like, well, we'll deal with it later. Because, behind the scenes, we were like, what is happening? We were completely bamboozled by this one the entire time. And we just kept kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it never did. We still do not know what happened. If it was something off the field, if there was some, conduct issue, we have no idea. I don't know that the people have really asked too much about it. It's definitely, if I could ask Kevin Cash one question, that would be one of them. That would be high on my list to ask him, because it's just very bizarre. And I don't know if we'll ever get an explanation. Maybe it'll be in Kevin Cash's memoirs in sometime in the next 20 years, but it's a true mystery.
It feels so un-Razy. It feels like bad process. It feels like bad process, which is something I don't want to say very much. But like they got rid of Christian Bethencourt, who admittedly did not have a good year with the Marlins this year. But he was like fine for us, right? He was completely fine for us the past 2 seasons. They got rid of him. They said, we don't need another catcher. We don't need one because we got rid of Pinto. And then I complained about the Christian Bethencourt move in the offseason. I said, okay, well, as long as if you're doing this indicates to me that you want to do something with the catcher position, either to get a new backup for Rene Pinto, or you want to upgrade significantly there. And then they said, nope, we don't need him. We got Alex Jackson in case of emergency, so don't worry. And then they got Rortvet on the last day of spring training, which felt like a panic buy.
Yeah.
And then immediately they dumped Rene Pinto. And like, this is extremely small sample, but Rene Pinto in his 19 games hit to a 106 WRC plus. He was above average at hitting, which as a catcher is pretty good. Was that going to sustain over a whole year? Probably not. But like, things that he can do is he can draw walks sometimes, and he can like hit home runs. He can run into one, right? But like we said with Ben Rortvet, 87 WRC plus. Alex Jackson, 29 WRC plus. Rob Brantley played 3 games at catcher for us, minus 43 WRC plus. And who's the other guy? Logan Driscoll, 24 WRC plus. None of those guys had massive samples apart from Brantley and maybe Jackson, I suppose. But like, and maybe you don't care about hitting from the catcher position, but like, we had a black hole there, right? Like, nobody was doing so well defensively that they justified that level of hitting. So why was the one that had the best hitting potential in AAA the whole time? It just, and if they were like, hey, we think he actually needs to work on something, then you get a backup so he can go work on the thing, and you're not fielding Alex Jackson all the time. And if it's a clubhouse thing, what did he do?
Yeah, because I think the thing that makes the whole he needed to work on something, excuse not work for me is because how did they not know he needed to work on that when they proclaimed him the heir apparent at the catcher position? Like, they knew whatever is wrong with him. They were aware of that beforehand. So I'm convinced it was something else. I have no idea what it was. Something else was going on. I don't know. If you want the small sample size stat of the year award, Rene Pinto finished with a higher WRC plus in 2024 than Junior Caminero did at the major league level. That is maybe my favorite small sample size stat of the season. And I don't know. It's very, very strange. I don't know that we'll never get a straight answer on it. Maybe we will one day, but shadow realm it is for Rene Pinto until further notice.
Do you think he'll ever be back? Do you think he'll ever return?
I don't know, because I don't know what the reason that he was banished is. So I really have no idea.
Like, I guess what will be telling is when we do the non-tender deadline, whether they tender him out of contract. Because if they're just going to keep him in AAA, there's no point in keeping him in AAA purgatory.
Agreed. If there's some issue that he is, done with the organization and they're not happy with, just let him go. And honestly, it was definitely, to me, it was strange that they even kept him around at AAA all year. And there was many opportunities where he could have gone up, and they just never did. So it's just very weird. I do not get it.
They never cut him either, which was also weird. They never released him. They never DFA'd him. Like, they just kept him in AAA purgatory. And I guess we'll see if they make an adjustment on that and, like, make a full decision on things are forgiven, you're coming up, or we're going to cut ties and you can go start somewhere else. If it's a clubhouse thing that's so unforgivable, you got to be in AAA purgatory for a year, I don't see what's going to be forgiven between now and next season. But yeah, it's just so unraised. Like, it feels like it's a mess, and it feels like a team that values the catcher position and has a really set idea for what they want in the catcher position. It felt like they made it up as they went along, and that infuriates me, and it's something I'm not used to the Rays doing. So it's just it's not the reason the Rays were massively underwhelmed, but it didn't help.
No, it did not.
Let's move on before I keep going, because I could do a whole episode on this.
Something else that didn't help is my next award, the Tis But a Scratch Award. And that goes to Brandon Lau, who for the third straight season missed significant time with an injury. In 2022, he was on the 60-day IL with low back discomfort. In 2023, he had a right patella fracture. And in 2024, it's an oblique strain. And he seems to be cannot get off the injury bug. And it's really unfortunate because we just, as a fan, he's my favorite player on the team. I don't know that I will ever be able to get the stars in my eyes that have been put there by his 39 home run season, MVP type season that he had in 2021. He has not been able to stay on the field for a full season since that year. But the thing that is so, frustrating, I think, as a fan of him and as someone who loves watching him play, is when he's on the field, he's valuable. He put up the most WAR of a player that finished the season on the team among, all the players that played for the team this year. And it wasn't a great year for anybody, but he still hit 21 bombs. He still drove in 56, still hit to a 123 WRC plus and a 2.2 F WAR. And so he continues to fight and continue to put up numbers despite the continual injuries. No matter how many arms, how many legs you cut off of him, he's going to keep going, and he's going to, put out a above average performance offensively from a second baseman. And he's an award winner in my book, no matter what, because he's my favorite player. But if he could just stay healthy, man. But for now, it just seems like every year the sword is striking a different part of his body. So he's got my Tis But a Scratch Award.
Yeah, and he's in a tricky situation now where he's entering his age 30 season. He's got a club option for $10.5 million. Mm-hmm. The Rays have to make a choice on, like you said, the production is there when he's on the field. Is it worth paying him $10.5 million to maybe be on the field on the latter half of the aging curve? It's really tricky, because who are you going to play there instead? I guess your options are Mead or Aranda.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like an off-season episode.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I think it's gonna just. This is a teaser for the future. That's an episode we're gonna have this off-season and it's probably gonna be combined with the Yandy Diaz episode because those two are gonna be a point of large discussion probably as soon as the postseason ends and we start to look towards the offseason completely. Those two names are going to be in the mouths of insiders. Just be ready for it. It's going to happen because of those contract situations, because of the uncertainty with where the Rays will play baseball, the looming threats of downsizing on the payroll department. Just be ready for those conversations because they are coming, and we'll talk about it.
Because we love Brandon Lau and we know what he can do. He's the best hitter on the team, the most proven hitter on the team, apart from maybe Yandy. I mean, him and Yandy.
It's him and Yandy, yes.
Yeah, But those are the guys. So it's just a shame he's never been quite able to replicate because of health, mainly that 2021 season. But again, he was as close. Him and Yandy are the closest thing to consistency we have on this team. So
yeah,
That's valuable, and you do deserve the Tiz Butter Scratch award. Sidebar, I want to, before I go to my next award, a quick Arm and Bat of the Year award. I want to we do Arm and Bat of the Week every single week during the regular season, and they've been tallied and counted, and we have winners for the Bat and Arm of the Year. Whoever won the most Bat and Arm weeks throughout the season has been tallied. Do you reckon? Mm-hmm. Do you reckon you know who the Bat of the Year is?
Is the Bat of the Year still on the team?
Yes.
Okay. Is the Bat of the Year? I'm going to say it is. I don't know that Brandon Lau won enough.
He did.
Did he? Did he really? Okay.
He pipped at the post. He got 8 Bat of the Week awards, and Isaac got 7.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a close run thing. Yandy got 6.
Okay.
Josh Lowe got 5. Caballero and Aranda got 4. Siri got 3. Rosario, Rotvet, Randy, and Dylan Carlson got 2. And then Richie Palacios, Johnny DeLuca, and Alex Jackson got 1.
Dylan Carlson got 2. Did we both give it to him one week? Is that how that happened? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was a unanimous decision, and actually it was Carter that gave it.
Okay.
Which explains a lot, I think. Because Carter's a big Dylan Carlson guy.
He is a big Dylan Carlson fan. I'm curious to see what he'll do next year. We'll see.
If he's on the team, if he's playing, we'll see. Do you reckon you know who got Arm of the Year?
Arm of the Year's got to be Pepio, right?
Yeah, it's Pepio. He got in one. It was close though. Bradley and Littell both got 8.
I thought they would have been close, but I think Pepio. he got a lot of unanimous ones. I think.
Yeah, Pepio got 9. Bradley and Littell got 8. Jeff Springs got 4. Savali and Eflin and Useda got 3. Poche and Bars and Biggie got 2, and then Wagaspak got 1. Ooh, Jason Adam and Tyler Alexander and Garrett Clevenger got 1 as well.
Okay.
So there you go. Those are our Bat and Arm of the Year. Speaking of one of those names on the list, I'm going to give out my next award, which is I guess a good way to kind of encapsulate how the middle of the season felt. The greatest of all time for a month award goes to Taj Bradley.
Yes.
Because there was a hot minute in like late June through July that Taj Bradley put together a run of like 5 starts where he was the best pitcher on the planet and was on pace to become the next ace of the staff. He was unbelievable. Like it was just like throwing 7 shutout with 10 strikeouts like every time out. It was like, oh my gosh, Taj Bradley's finally turned the corner. He's lived up to his prospect status, and he is the greatest pitcher of all time. It's all because of Alex Jackson. Oh my god, and vibes were really good. And I think he deserves respect for that because, you know, there's been pitchers better than him that have never been able to put together that kind of stretch. And he kind of carried the team in July for a while because the offense sure didn't. So he was really great and deserves acknowledgement for that. It's just a shame that like the 10 starts before that and the 10 starts after that, he was not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, the question I think for Taj Bradley going forward is, which pitcher is he? Is he the first 10 and last 10, or is he that middle 7 or 8? And can he find a way to somehow blend those into maybe something a little more realistic, where he's somewhere in between those two, and he's a pretty good 3-4 starter? And I think that to me will be, you know, the testament to what he ends up becoming as a pitcher. Because if he can find a way to blend those two together and be a really solid 3-4 guy, that's a good career for a pitcher in Major League Baseball. The question is, can he find a way to find some consistency? Because I don't need him to be the ace all the time. We've got guys that can do that. But if he can just be somewhere in between those extremes, that is a consistent, you know, 28 starts a year guy that we really need on this team. So that's what I'm looking for next year. But that month was fun, though.
It was really fun. I think for me, he just needs a third pitch that's like good. Because for me, his fastball works for me. His split change works for me. But the thing is, when you that's a reliever repertoire when you've only got two pitches that work. And that means when he's going second, third time through the order, you could get barreled pretty easily because he's not like a big deception guy. He's more like I'm just gonna throw my stuff really hard at you guy. So he needs a third pitch, otherwise hitters can just lock into his fastball or his split change and kind of just go from there. We talked about this before. So if he can develop a third pitch somewhere, then that could, really work for him. So that could be the next step for him. Is he able to do that? Time will tell.
Time will tell, and I hope that time tells that he figures it out because he's fun. He's fun to watch when he's on. When he's locating that fastball at the top of the zone and not letting it drop a little bit, he's a fun guy to watch.
100%.
I will kind of transition. You mentioned this was a good award for kind of the middle of the season. I'd like to transition to my next award, which is for someone who also kind of had their fortunes change at the middle of the season. It is the So Long Partner Award, and that award goes to Randy Arozarena. I don't think we can encapsulate in the 20-ish minutes we have left in this episode just what Randy Arozarena meant to the city, to this team. That maybe we'll have a in memoriam episode sometime in the offseason for the guys that got traded. He meant so much to this team. He meant so much to the city for all the great moments he provided. It was sad to see him go. It kind of felt like it was time, and it was, based on the way he was playing, based on what we could get for him in the open market at the time. It made sense. It didn't make me happy. I understood it. I still do understand it, even though it still doesn't make me happy. I hope he does great things in Seattle. Cut didn't have a great end of the season. I hope he turns it around and has a great, season there. But it was sad to see him go. Appreciate everything he did in a Rays uniform. Some of the best moments in Rays history are, because of him and around him. So, we enjoyed every minute of him as a Ray, and hope he does well in his next stop. But for now, it's so long, partner.
Yeah, So Long Partner. It's appropriate because I think our best memories of him are when he was wearing cowboy boots. He was, I mean, there was a kind of gap in the team, I think. I guess I guess there was a little bit of a gap when Evan Longoria left of who was going to be the face of this team. Willie Adames looked like he could kind of potentially fill that void for a bit, but Randy did fill that void for a bit of who the guy on the poster guy on this team was. He had a whole section named after him. He was the heart and soul. The charisma he had, I mean, it's a shame it's not worked out for him in Seattle so far, and it's a shame that he was so, streaky, I suppose. Particularly this season, he was really streaky, and I'm gonna miss him. We'll do a whole in memoriam episode because he was not the only beloved face that left the team in July. But what he meant to this team was fantastic, and I think he would be welcomed back with open arms if he ever wanted to return, if that opportunity ever came up, and if he ever returns as a visiting player, he's going to get a video package, he's going to get a standing ovation, because I don't think he would have left this team if he got the choice.
Yeah, I mean, you saw I've never seen a player go to the game the day after being traded and sit there in the stands, meet with fans, and just have that kind of moment like that. It was something special. He's been something special. It's a shame that it had to end the way that it did, but I'm grateful that the team clearly respected him enough to trade him to a contender, at least at the time. The Mariners fell apart, but they were a contender when he was traded there. So they clearly respect him, and he has a lot of respect for the organization. And it's a shame they had to end the way it did, but those memories are, like I always say, like, I'm a big guy on if I buy a jersey for a player, it's because that player gave me great moments. It's not because they're really good. It's because they have moments that I will remember forever. I have a Kevin Kiermaier jersey. That's the only Rays jersey I own. but it's because I have the image of Kevin Kiermaier doing the jump man, jumping up against the wall, making catches, all his amazing catches, his clutch moments in the playoffs. Those are burned into my brain. And so every time I put that jersey on or I look at it, I don't think, man, he got traded and he's playing for someone else now. I think about all those great moments. Anybody who has a Randy jersey or any of his kind of paraphernalia, you know, it's not lost just because he got traded somewhere else, because those memories are going to be alive forever. And, you know, those will never get taken away.
Yeah, it's my Rays jersey, has a Rosarena on the back. And I'm still proud to wear that. And I think he's the perfect argument against people just don't want to play for the Rays. People don't want to play in Tampa argument, because that guy did not want to leave. He spent every last second in the Trop that he could. And I'm sure it was a really upsetting day for him when he got traded, and he tried to hang around as long as he could. So tell that to anyone that doesn't want to play here, or that this impression that people don't want to play here. Tell that to Tyler Glasnow too, right?
Yeah.
People love this organization. If you give to the fans, they'll give you right back in spades.
100%.
Randy's that guy, and I'm gonna miss him. Okay. Next
Very
up,
much so. Who is your next award recipient?
Okay, I'm going to give my next award to. I feel like we should make this an annual award. We should make this an annual award. It is the Rays Bullpen Factory Product of the Year Award. Every year we churn out some reliever from seemingly out of nowhere that becomes the greatest reliever of all time for a bit. It's been Jason Adam in years past. It's been, I would say, Pete Fairbanks would have won that award at one point. Colin Poche. But this year,
Nick Anderson.
It's Nick Anderson, Jake Diekman, like those kind of guys. This year, it's got to go to Edwin Uceda for sure. I mean, what can we say that we've not already said about Edwin Uceda? Despite only pitching 41 2/3 innings, he put up more WAR than Taj Bradley, more WAR who pitched 138 innings, more WAR than Bars, more WAR than any other Rays reliever. The only pitchers he were behind were Eflin, Pepio, and Littell in terms of Fangraphs WAR for Rays pitchers, and he did that with a third of the innings that those guys did. 12.3 strikeouts per nine, 0.4 home runs per nine, a 151 ERA, a 170 FIP. Like, are those results sustainable? Absolutely not. Did he overperform? Do his numbers overperform what he actually did? Yeah, but oh my God, was he a carry for the second half of the season and usurped the closer role from an injured Pete Fairbanks. And now he's going to be a high leverage part of the team going forward. And we're super excited about him and what he does. I mean, unbelievable stuff from Uceda with his kind of unorthodox release point and his high stuff oriented arsenal. The fact that he's worked out command issues means he's going to be unstoppable. And the Rays deserve credit for getting another guy that had promise but couldn't put it together and put it together. They're the glue.
They are the glue, and I he is a guy that is on pace at the level at which he pitched. If he had pitched basically a full reliever season, which usually ends up to be about 60, 70 innings of baseball, he would have been on pace for almost 3.5 F4 as a reliever, which is crazy for a reliever. Would have led the team. Would have led the team in F4. It's good that it seems like whatever nonsense he got into when he got a little frustrated towards the end of the year has cleared out now. I'm very interested to see how he's going to do next year with Pete kind of, being a little bit of a glass cannon right now. It'll be interesting to see who starts as the closer next year. There's a couple of candidates, especially, you think about a guy like Biggie who could continue to develop over the offseason and going into next year. It's going to be hard to get saves and hard to hold down a closer job long-term there because there's a lot of competition there. So I'm very excited to see that. And who will be the next recipient of this award?
Oh, it could be anyone. I mean,
no idea.
Mason Montgomery also, the thing is, though, he's not like a factory product. He's like a prodigy. He's not like we put him in the shop. kind of guy. He's like we've already got a finished product. But
Yes.
there'll be someone like, I guess a name I'll arbitrarily throw out there. I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Acton, I believe it was. And he got signed to a 2-year deal to recover in the first year from Tommy John surgery as a reliever. He's sitting around on the Rays roster somewhere. I'm gonna get the name right and Google it in a second, but like he could be that guy that comes back from Tommy John and then joins the roster and then becomes the next, incredible option. So just, I suppose, keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. And what we'll keep an eye out for next is my next award. And that is an award that I'm very happy and excited to give. And that is the Yukon Cornelius Award, because he kind of looks like Yukon Cornelius, and it's Zach Littell. My theme for my awards was movie quotes. You could have given him the Best Pitcher on the Rays award for this season, because he led the team in WAR, 2.3 FWAR, 156 innings pitched, knocking on the door of 160 innings, started 29 games for this team, pitched to a 3.63 ERA, a 3.88 FIP. He did everything we could have asked for from him preseason and a little bit more. Loved every single thing that I saw from him this season. Very intrigued to see where he slots into the rotation, which I think he has locked in a spot in the rotation. There was a bit there where he was having kind of a couple tough starts towards the last month and a half or so of the season, but he completely rebounded from that. And I think he's totally locked in my mind as a starting pitcher for the Rays next year. He's one of the big success stories in a rough season. You can look at a guy like Zach Littell and say, that is something really awesome that happened this season. A guy who was a reliever as recently as last year, making the transition and then having a phenomenal season as a starter. Zach Littell, the Yukon Cornelius Award.
Yeah, I mean, what can't be said that hasn't already been said? I mean, he's been the ace of the staff, I suppose, Mr. Consistency. And yeah, like, we all came into this season going, right, Zach Littell was a bit of a mini revelation last year. Is it sustainable? Not sure. He proved it's absolutely sustainable. Yeah, Zach Littell, Mr. Sustainable, Mr. Consistency, Mr. Reliable. And you need those guys. Do you want him to be the ace of your staff if you're going to make the playoffs? Probably not. He's probably not the guy that needs to go above and beyond to get you to the playoffs. But if he is always in your rotation as the third option, you've got a damn good rotation right there. And you need guys like that if you're going to navigate 162 games. If we had 5 Zach Littells, we probably would have made the playoffs. Honestly, when you think about a guy like Zach Littell, the reason why I've always touted his value is because let's say you make the playoffs. Right now, if we make the playoffs in 2025, the rotation is probably going to look like some combination of, Shane McClanahan, Jeffrey Springs, and Ryan Pepio. But then you have a guy who could be a number 2 or 3 starter on a lot of teams who can then not only can come out of your bullpen, but has experience coming out of your bullpen, can be a reset button for you as a team, or could even be like a 4th guy in your rotation if you want to give somebody else an extra. He just has so much versatility into what he can do as a player on this team. He has immense value to me, even beyond the value that he just does in his performance. So I'm really excited that he's on the team. I'm looking forward to see what his role will be next year. And I'm looking forward to the first game that he comes out in the postseason in 2025, where Pepio goes out there. He has a bit of a rough start. You got 2 or 3 guys on in the 2nd or 3rd inning. You think it's over. Zach Littell comes in and cruises for 4. I'm eagerly awaiting that outcome. Oh, don't threaten me with a good time, Zach Dabb. That would be just perfect, I think. And it would be so Rays. It would just be so Rays. I love that. Zach Littell, big shout out to you. You get one of the positive awards on this show in one where we don't have very many of those. So congratulations, Zach Littell. We love you. Okay. I've only got one more award to give, and this one, it doesn't even involve the Major League team. But the Rays have regained kind of elite farm system status after a couple of years of guys graduating and not having like a ton of talent at the kind of top levels of the minors. They've done a bit of a reshuffle and souped it up over the trade deadline. And we, there's a lot of noise about Brody Hopkins and Aiden Smith, and there's a lot of noise about, let's say, Junior Caminero, who's just come up, and Carson Williams, but even Xavier Isaac. But a guy that doesn't get a ton of credit for me is Trey Morgan, and he gets the most slept on prospect award. Congratulations, Trey Morgan, for getting that. He's a first baseman that started to get a bit of time in the outfield out in the fall league, and across 3 levels this year. He started in single A and then played some high A and now in double A. He hit 324 with 10 home runs, 68 RBIs, 20 stolen bases as well from first base. Yeah, really, really good. He's got really high hit tool. His power tool is not like outstanding, but it's developing. And he has a really good approach at the plate, a really advanced approach at the plate for a 22-year-old. Draws a lot of walks, barely ever strikes out. Like, let me put it this way. In 100 at-bats in single A, he struck out 13 times, which is a 13% strikeout rate, very low. In 197 at-bats in high A, he only struck out 18 times, which is like less than 10% strikeout rate. And then in 76 at-bats in double A, he only struck out 17 times. So he's striking out a little bit more, but like he doesn't strike out that often. He's a bat-to-ball guy. He'll rip liners all over the field. He's got such an advanced approach. Athletic, plays really good fielding at first base, and will probably do well in the corner outfield as well because he's faster than the average first baseman. We need to talk about him, and I think him and Xavier Isaac are going to be really fun as they move up the minors together and switch about in who's going to take over first base. And there's people in some circles that think Trey Morgan is better than Xavier Isaac, so keep an eye on him. There's not enough words going on about him, even though he was at the Futures game, the kind of combine workout, which I think says the industry are starting to warm up to him.
And if you want some more good news, I've got some, and that is the way that he is currently performing in the Arizona Fall League. He ranks number 6 in OPS at the Arizona Fall League at a 1.254 OPS, a 792 slug, 462 on base percentage. He has in 24 at-bats, he has struck out 4 times. He has 10 runs batted in. And of his 10 hits, 6 are extra base with 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run. The dude is on fire, and he continues to stay on fire out in Arizona. You can count me in the circle of people that think he is very good, and it might be better. And I'm kind of at this point willing to say he is better than Xavier Isaac for a lot of reasons that we can get into in the offseason. Trey Morgan coming to wherever the Rays are going to play in the next few seasons to you very, very soon.
Yeah, I would expect him to start this year at double A, but quickly 2025, I'd expect him to start in double A. But if he could quickly move to triple A mid-season if he continues what he's on, and maybe may end up in the major league, depending on what happens with Yandy and Aranda and other depth in first base position. He could get a cup of coffee next year. I doubt it, but like 2026, he's going to be competing for a roster spot. He might be the first baseman in 2026.
I think especially with his ability to potentially play the outfield, we'll have to see. I haven't really looked into how he's done in the outfield. I think he's been fine, but we'll need to look into that and maybe see that next year. But there is a realistic world, especially if he can play some left field. That's where he's been listed so far in the fall league. If you want to tell me that Trey Morgan can play left field, then I'm going to tell you that we're going to be talking about him vying for a spot in the opening day roster in 2026, because a guy with his profile that can play some left field in a Rays organization that does not have many outfielders of the future right now, if he can be at least competent out there, he will move his way up in short order because there is a need.
Absolutely. All right, we've got one more award, only one more left. Zach, who is our final award winner today?
You know, I wish I had saved a more positive award for last, but unfortunately, there's some positives in here. My last award is I have a bad feeling about this award, and that goes to the person that I have a very bad feeling is going to be starting at shortstop when the 2025 season begins, wherever it begins, and that is Taylor Walls. And it is not all bad. Because if you navigate over to Fangraphs, as you might, as a fan of the RBLR brand may do for on a frequent basis because we are Fangraphs enjoyers here at RBLR. If you were to navigate over there, you would see some unflattering statistics in the offensive, and you would also see some unflattering statistics in the defensive. But that, friends, is where the eyes come into play. Because if you would take your eyes from that statistic and go and watch some Taylor Walls clips, and not just what you see on the TV, but try to go to a game or see if you can find a view of him that's not just once the ball is hit, you will notice pre-ball in play movement from him that I think, and a lot of people, not just me, think is tricking the statistics that we see defensively for him. So whatever statistics you see out there for Taylor Walls defensively, just kind of throw them out. Use your eyes. Go and watch him play in a game. He's good. He's very, very good. So we're taking care from a defensive perspective. The problem is the offensive perspective. We believe that Carson Williams will be that solution long term. Short term, we do not have a good one. Old friend Willie Adames is going to get $200 million from somebody, not the Rays, but from somebody out there. And that's really the only shortstop on the open market this offseason that I have any interest in whatsoever. So I really don't.
You don't have interest in Paul DeYoung?
No, I do not.
You don't have interest in Kike Hernandez?
I am intrigued by the idea. I do not believe that my intrigue would be matched if I actually took a deeper look at his statistics this year. I get the feeling that I probably might feel differently. Yeah, there's just not a lot out there. Maybe we can trade for the corpse of Javi Baez and see what he's got left in the tank. If he does have anything left in the tank, I don't know. But yeah, I have a very bad feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot of Taylor Walls next year. And that is not all bad because he is a defensive savant. He is one of the best defenders in all of baseball. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. If anybody tells you that, you know that they are a certified not ball watcher. They are a stat watcher. If you actually go watch Taylor Walls play defense, he is excellent. It's just unfortunate that he cannot manage to pull out some of the success he had in AAA and in the minors below up to the major league level with any kind of consistency from an offensive perspective. He does walk a good bit, though, so we like that.
Yeah, he does walk. And I think also we need to have a conversation about Taylor Walls' health. Like,
yeah,
he has had some injuries, like, over the past 3 years. He has been on and off the injured list at times. He's never had, like, a full season where he's not got hurt significantly, where he spent at least, like, a month or two off. Luckily, we got Caballero as well. Like, he can play some shortstop as well, although he's starting to kind of transition into a utility man role. They clearly want Walls out there more than Caballero if the end of the season was anything to come across. And yeah, we may just have to tank the Taylor Walls just to get to Carson Williams and just hope that Carson Williams does really well in AAA next year and comes up sooner rather than later. Like, best case scenario, we get Carson Williams like mid-season. But, like, that's an unlikely outcome, I would think.
Yep, I agree. He does walk 12% of the time, which is third on the Rays last year. And it's second if you don't include no, I read that wrong. He is third on the team behind Palacios and Shenton. For some reason, I read Shenton as Paredes. I don't know how that happened, but he is. But Shenton and Palacios both walk more. He has, Palacios had more. Yeah, they're so easily confused. Palacios actually had more plate appearances than Walls, which I was surprised by. Either way, he does do some good things. It's just the bat itself is not very good. The eye is okay. Be interesting to see if he can, ever do anything a little more positively offensively. But he's going to provide good value there defensively. So
yeah,
it is what it is
for sure. It is what it is, as was this 2024 Rays season. Not as many positive awards as we gave out last year, for sure. But that's okay. If we're going to be mid, we may as well laugh about it. We may as well celebrate it.
We're never going to be accused of not enjoying it no matter what. We're never going to be accused of not celebrating whatever did happen. It was a season of Rays baseball. And you know what? The great thing is there's another season coming next year. So whatever unfortunateness happened this year, there's another season coming up next year. The guys will be healthier, hopefully. Knock on wood. We'll have another great season of Rays baseball coming up very soon. And in the meantime, we've got a lot to talk about in the offseason. And we appreciate all of you that are here watching with us. We are so excited to go into another offseason to kind of set the scene for next year, talk about what happened this year. We'll have some fun episodes. We'd love to hear from you guys. What do you want to hear us talk about this offseason? Let us know down in the comments below or on social media. Let us know what you want to hear about this offseason. We've got a lot of offseason shows to do, and if you've got something you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We'd love to know.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, we're blessed to have an excellent Rays community, and we're happy to interact and talk with you. And we'll do it all off season when the Rays make some very, very tricky decisions. So in the meantime, we'll, as always, raise up.
Raise up. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.